Welcome to Sandbox FOMO5 from Bureau Happold. Each week we pick short snippets from our most recent episode for your listening pleasure. These quick listens could be valuable insights, thought-provoking elements, or even practical advice that will no doubt enrich your life and knowledge. Sandbox brings together curious individuals interested in a specific topic to discuss, dissect, and interrogate it. The style is conversational, with experts from Bureau Happold and invited external guests who will add another angle to the narrative. Listeners are encouraged to gather around our podcast so that we can explore the latest advances in various fields and expand our collective horizons. Sometimes we'll tackle a subject head-on, sometimes a sideways view, but always with curiosity, expertise, and who knows, maybe even a dash of humour. So let's look at the individual. As we discussed in the previous episode, sometimes the individual can feel powerless. What's the point in me planting a buddleia for the bees if my neighbour is hoovering their plastic grass next door? What can the individual do, and what kind of impact can we make? Tamsin, I'm going to go to you first for this one.
I've lived in a terrace street before, and I obviously planted it to within an inch of its life with all sorts of things. And actually, people do catch on. They like to copy and they like nice things and they want their environment improved. So it starts a conversation with your neighbours. People start asking you, oh, how are you doing that? How are you growing that? Give plants to friends that you think might need a hand with the garden. I think it's a case of, as Aaron and Colin were saying, we've all got to share, even on a very small scale, share our knowledge and encourage people that growing things is not as hard as they may well think.
Thank you, Tamsin, and I'll go to Aaron next.
I think the same goes with, as per the climate emergency, where every little makes a difference in terms of how much carbon we're using and how much we're doing to offset that. The same applies to nature. So as Tamsin said, I totally agree. I think people inspiring each other to consider how nature affects them, planting things on their balcony, in their garden, on a small scale is going to make a big difference. So I think the individual has a lot of collective power to make a real difference, especially in a city context where obviously, as we're saying, a lot of it is largely grey infrastructure. So if you've got individuals that are looking after their green spaces and improving them, that's only going to spread out and fan out and be very much positive.
Brilliant. Thank you, Aaron. And the same question to Colin, please.
I often think about my dad when I'm thinking about like how to start looking at gardening and biodiversity in your space. He's a keen gardener, has been for a long time, but he's done a couple of odd things in the last sort of 10 years. And he started with buying bees, a bee larvae, and he gets them in the post. So Royal Mail delivers a bee larvae, and then he puts them in the garden, and they obviously hatch in the garden. So you're creating a bit of biodiversity there in your garden by bringing bees into that part where we've had issues with bees particularly, and where they are in the country. And then the other thing he did, so he removed a big patch of concrete paving from a garden area, which is great because it's turning it into a sponge garden, let's say. But he planted that area up, and then what he did was he got 100 worms posted to him to make sure that area had some sort of nutrition and worms in there moving around. So I guess my advice is use the Royal Mail to deliver insects to your garden.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Let's bring bees and worms back to our spaces. So there we have it. The green space race has begun. We need biodiversity in our cities. Nature isn't just a luxury that we can kettle in rapidly shrinking rural silos. Not only is nature and biodiversity an intrinsically magical and well thought through machine, but we humans, hubristic as we can be, need it. We need it for our physical health, our mental well-being, and we also need it for the very survival of this world, which is, in all its many forms, our habitat. Governments, businesses and developers have a vital role to play, but so do we. Us individuals, those vital little bees in this great big hive of an ecosystem we call planet Earth. Well, I hope you enjoyed that quick dip into our last episode of Sandbox. Don't forget to subscribe to follow the show. You'll find Sandbox in all the usual places, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Bureau Happold's YouTube channel, and on the Bureau Happold website. What's more, if you want to join the conversation on X, known as Twitter to its old friends, use the hashtag BHSandbox. We'd love to hear from you on any of the topics discussed.